Hey guys, it's Biggs. Welcome back. Today I got something special, something that's been sitting in the vault for a long time. This is going back to a long time ago when I was down south in Florida, and I did a video series. I did a couple of videos already that have already been released with this gentleman, and this is the third one. This one apparently a lot of people have been asking for, wondering when it's coming out, because I must have alluded to it in the second video. My apologies. Wasn't intention as a slight on anybody. It's just when I travel, I take so much content and it builds up and it builds up. And as I'm starting to learn, when I go and do these big tours and big fish rooms and stuff like that, I walk out of there and I've shot 200 videos. That's an absolute nightmare from an editing standpoint. So I'm getting better, I'm learning some tricks. But today, finally, we're going to head back to the Garden of Eder, Mr. Grant Eder, and we're going to talk about one particular shrimp, the Cardinal Shrimp, Caridina, dennerli. Now this shrimp is really cool. Now what's really unique about this shrimp is it's vastly different than all the other Caridinas, Neocaridinas, all that other stuff. Everything that you guys know about keeping fish apparently are thrown out the window when you keep these guys. And these guys are extremely challenging to keep. They come all the way from way out as an island off the coast of Indonesia. They're all in the arpeggio with all these different islands. It's the island of Sulawesi. Now, I know a couple of good friends that have been and traveled extensively of this island. Mr. Hans-Georg Evers from Germany and Chris Lufkamp. Both those guys have been there and traveled extensively, and they've seen these areas and these habitats up close and personal, and they know about these animals very well. Now, what's super unique about these islands, Sulawesi is a very thin chain island, and I'll show it to you. I'll put up a map here so you guys will see what it looks like. And now, it is an absolute paradise on earth. People travel from all over the world to go to these type of habitats for snorkeling, for diving, any of that sort of stuff. You're into coral reefs, that's all there. That's all the type of stuff they want to do. And one of the other really big things that happens in this environment or in this area that is world renowned is these freshwater jellyfish. And I might be wrong, they may not be freshwater, so if I am, my apologies. But these are jellyfish that looks like little box jellyfish or moon jellyfish, and they're stingless. And you could swim freely and touch these animals. And I know several people. Here's a good friend of mine that's gone and done it. Her name is Christy. And she's done it over there, and it's a super cool experience. So Thailand's known for, Indonesia is known for a lot of unique things. That's another one of them. But let's get back to this particular area. On Sulawesi, a lot of these different lakes are extremely specialized in the water chemistry. Very high pH, and they also have very low hardness, which is very unique. There's other animals that live in these areas too. I remember Hans-Georg Evers, who's a good friend. He's done a lot of different talks and presentations on the plight of what's happening in Sulawesi. Same thing that's happening everywhere. Agriculture's killing stuff, deforestation's killing stuff, palm oil's killing stuff. We're just taking absolutely everything away from our planet just based on greed. And another thing is all these animals will be decimated by it. Another big factor that's happened in recent years, and I'm talking in the past 5 years or so, has been the introduction of tilapia. Again, introduced with the thought that this is going to be a good protein source for the people that live there, but tilapia are quickly ravaging through the habitats and destroying absolutely everything. Now, one of the other things besides these extremely unique shrimp, and there's more than just the one species, but the one species we're going to talk about today is the cardinal shrimp. But there is other things, is a lot of the different weird, unique trumpet snail type things that we've seen. Rabbit snails, lava snails, they go by a lot of different type of unique names, but they also come from that very specialized habitat. So let's take a look today at the cardinal shrimp. Okay, this tank is vastly different than any of the other ones. Now there is one main tank in the living room that is absolutely stunning, and we're going to do that one last, but I thought this was your original farm tank or something, or that one was your main one and this was like a startup, but you told me something a little bit different.
No, this wasn't my first one, but this was my first bigger Sulawesi tank, and I started this before the other one. Just I've sold so many shrimp out of here, it doesn't seem like there was very many at all. The demand for them so high, I just had so many orders going. I sold all the shrimp out of this tank except for 3 buried females. So they're making a comeback now. But
and the Sulawesi shrimp are extremely different in their water conditions that they need, right?
Right. They're pH of 8, TDS around 200 with KH in the water. and the only tanks that I have thermometers to keep the temperature at 80.
80 degrees. Okay. Now it might not show up, guys, in this particular video here right now because I'm about 2 feet from the tank, but I saved the absolute, in my opinion, absolute best for last. This is an exceptionally well-populated tank of those Sulawesi Cardinal Shrimp.
Yep.
Yep. Maybe get some nice close-up of these guys. When we walked up, the actual lights were on a timer and they'd actually turned off. So we're gonna wait a minute for the guys to kind of come out. Let's get you guys some good footage, and then Grant can tell us a little bit about them.
So I got these guys in March about 5 years ago, and so it'll be next month. It'll be 5 years I had these guys going, and I started with just 5. I didn't even let the tank really cycle all the way. I started them in a 20-gallon tank, and I think I lost 1 or 2 of them and before they started breeding, but I've just kept the tank very stable, kept it the same way, and I've kept the line alive now for almost 5 years.
Okay.
The demand for these shrimp is pretty high. The only way to get them, if you don't buy them from somebody who has a homebred tank, chances are you're going to get them from an importer who's getting wild caught, and the dead on arrival rate for these shrimp is just much higher than any other. You can expect like half of them to die every time you ship them, except for the ones that are homebred. I only ship these overnight. It's worth the extra, 20 or 30 bucks for shipping to get these a day sooner.
These are one of the most expensive shrimps, but not only that, they're also one of the most extremely specialized shrimps.
Right.
Everything from these lakes in Sulawesi are all the same, are they not?
Yeah. So this is the actual shrimp. I won't sell it to you unless you can answer all my questions. So
okay.
I have like a Sulawesi cheat sheet that I posted on the USA shrimp group. And basically, if you can't answer the questions that are easily solved on that cheat sheet, I won't sell these shrimp to you until you can come back and give me the right parameters and stuff, because taking them out of the wild is just such a problem that before long, these will be completely extinct and only alive in the hobby.
I believe Hans George Evers was back there, and Chris Lufkamp have been back there since, and I believe tilapia and some other species of fish have been introduced, so I think these guys don't have a chance in the wild anymore.
I think it's a bigger issue with overcatching and a small issue with pollution.
Yep, I would agree.
And these shrimp are just as easy as the rest, as long as you set up the tank the right way. It's just water changes and feeding, but you've got to set it up with the right minerals and the right substrate. That's what all the harder shrimp is all about.
So nobody's going to be keeping these in tap water, unless they're in Sulawesi.
There is a couple people whose parameters match up ideally with their tap water, but for the most part, you still should have some type of lime rock or crushed coral in there to keep the pH stable, because one water treatment to the other, your tap water can come out different 1 week to the next.
Could you use what they call Texas Holy Rock? Would that work?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Texas Holy Rock is available to me up in Canada. Our wholesaler, our local guy, Spencer Jack, gets into Texas Holy Rock all the time.
And then the substrate is just crushed coral and argonite. So if you can get your hands on that, you don't even really need the rock. You can use whatever rocks, but they're much more comfortable with rock habitat. They'll hide in the caves and they'll pick through the little tiny organisms that live in the rock. And then inside the substrate, I also bury lava rocks so that bacteria can colonize underneath the substrate.
And your wife was saying when you guys were setting up this tank that you let this tank go until those rocks were green before you even put the stuff in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's because that bio cover is critical to their success rate.
Well, just with this tank. Our other tanks before, they didn't have the green, but it's just kind of dull to look at, just a straight white tank. So we really try to get the green to go on here, and it has actually helped with the survival rate and everything.
Well, you never hear of anybody saying shrimp are lazy. These guys are going absolutely all the time.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried any of the other species of Sulawesi shrimp?
Yeah, I had the white orchids going, but I had a guy come from Brazil, and he messaged me like 2-3 months before his trip, and he wanted the white orchids, and I said, yeah, by then I should have them, because I had a couple buried females in there, and the survival rate wasn't that good, and by the time the guy made it to Brazil, it was like one of the only shrimp that he actually wanted, and I kind of let him take all the ones except for my buried female. I didn't have very good success with raising the babies, so I'm down to just the one female. However, the guy in Brazil has a whole colony of white orchids going, so it was worth it.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our third installment, Into the Garden of Eder. Spending the day with Grant and his family, viewing his absolutely breathtaking collection. The stock is mesmerizing. This species in particular, and all the animals of Sulawesi, desperately need our help. The chances of them surviving in the wild are getting slimmer and slimmer as the days go by. So if you think you have the ability and you can take care of these specialized shrimp, please do. As always, thank you for watching. Take care.